Of course, this small child steals Nalaake's comm badge and escapes. Now, how does a small child escape from this facility on a distant planet during a dust storm? I have no idea. We jump ahead 15 years later and we find out Holly Hunter, and no, I'm not going to call her by her name in the show, quit after this because she feels remorse for separating a child from his mother. I'm not really sure why, because that's usually what happens when a mother is, say, an accessory to murder, but I'm pretty sure it's so they could force this line in the show.
Separating children from their parents isn't exceptional. It's reprehensible.
Message!
You know, it's subtle, but I think they're trying to say something there. And because Alex Kurtzman's not going to let the STD dream die, we get our first returning character, Admiral Vance.
It's made of our shit, you know.
And gonna be real, that's the only line in the show.
Separating children from their parents isn't exceptional. It's reprehensible.
You know, it's subtle, but I think they're trying to say something there. And because Alex Kurtzman's not going to let the STD dream die, we get our first returning character, Admiral Vance.
It's made of our shit, you know.
And gonna be real, that's the only...
Uh-oh. Okay. All right. I think I'm live. I keep having technical difficulties here. Anyways, so I am like the kid who is missing his homework assignment constantly. All right. I think I'm live. So in this, episode 8 was probably on like 3 weeks ago, and I'm finally getting around to reviewing it. And I think episode 9 came out last week, and then I think tomorrow is episode 10, and then that's the conclusion of season 1. So here's the challenge. I'm like so far behind, and it's my fault. I'm gonna tell you it's my fault. The reason it's my fault is I just don't like the show. I'm trying hard. I really just don't like it. You know, and you know when you don't like something, it's like eating. I mean, I like most foods, but you know, let's say there's some food that you just don't like. You know. Yeah, thanks for, I'm taking the hits, I'm trying, but, you know, you've got to be motivated, right? You know, first you have to watch it. So let me give you an example. You ever see something that you don't like, and so you just forget about it? So when I come to try to do one of these videos to talk about it, if I don't do it right away, I put it out of my mind because I didn't like it. So I've got to come back to remembering what I saw, and I try to think about some of the positive things that I saw, and then maybe, you know, just say my reflections on it. And yeah, thanks for joining in, and it's a tough one. So this one, season 1, episode 8, I had to kind of go back and review it again because I forgot. I kind of had mixed it up with some of the other some of the other ones that were in the past. And now tonight, most likely, I'll watch 9, and then I don't know when I'm going to watch 10. So hopefully, I'm trying to get through it, and because I'm still eternally hopeful that somehow, they said this next one was conducted by Jonathan Frakes, so maybe, you never know. He was he directed First Contact, Star Trek First Contact, which was outstanding. So maybe he can do something and help this be better. But this last one, episode 8, oh my God. Okay, so this one, I don't know if you've seen it. What's happened is, I think 2 episodes ago, I thought the last one I talked about was this Cozine where, see, this is another thing. I need some cheat sheets to remember these characters' names. Devin or somebody like that. The one guy that could turn into another alien or something and walk in space. Even though he hasn't done anything cool like that in like 6 episodes. He hasn't done anything but act weird and throw up glitter. But anyways, so that episode where he was supposed to get married and didn't get married and came back to the ship. So before that, they had some sort of they saw some live action, and the Vulcan guy on the War Academy side died. The Beta Z lady, which I forgot her name, she had some sort of a trauma where she went into a coma, came out of the coma, all that kind of stuff. So now she's coming out of her coma in this episode, and she's coming back to be back in school. So yeah, like I said, they saw action, and I think 2 episodes back, and they had an episode, last one, where this guy's getting married, and now they're revisiting some of this trauma that they had. So I guess they didn't realize they had so much trauma. They did a simulated war scenario in the hologram, which, maybe they should have done that in the first place instead of going on that abandoned ship and then having aliens try to eat them. But anyways, so in the simulation, they miserably failed. Like, they didn't cooperate with each other, they're fighting with each other, they're arguing with each other, and blew up the ship. The Janet Reno character, who was playing the captain of the simulation, sat back and said, "You guys really screwed up," and kicked them off the simulation. Now, like I said, I don't remember all the details, but so there's an A and a B story, which seems to be standard Star Trek, pattern of storytelling, which I'm cool with. I mean, we've seen it for 60 years where there's always an A and a B story. And so the A story seems to be about these cadets having their trauma, and they have the captain, Ake. See, I remember the captain's name. So sitting down and with the Reno and maybe I think some other people and talking about what are we going to do to help out our cadets. They've been through trauma, and we must help them heal this trauma. And so that was story A. Story B then is the hologram, and I'm never going to get off of this. The hologram that somehow got shot is still glitching. No one on this planet can help me make that make any sense. Okay, so I can even understand if somehow they thought that this was a good thing just in this series of Starfleet Academy, but this, she says she get trauma just watching it. Well, it's not over. So in episode 3, I think, the hologram was getting shot at and allowed the whatever it was that they were firing at it to pass through. In the episode following that, this number 6, I think, the hologram gets shot and now is glitching out of control. And so they're not even internally consistent with their own series. I can understand if they said, we're going to rewrite the hologram because 1,000 years in the future and make the holo emitters integral to the photons or something. I don't know what they're thinking I don't know how they're thinking that a hologram is getting shot. But I can't get off of this because it doesn't make, and the processing for the hologram is somehow inside of the hologram. So if you've got something that's got processing power inside of it, got the ability to project inside it, and can be damaged, isn't that more of like an android or something than a hologram? It just seems like I've got a physical thing that could get shot and damaged to the point where it needs to be repaired. So the B story is now we've got to fix the hologram, and the only way to fix the hologram is to take the hologram back to his home planet. So that's the B story, okay? Now, let's go back to the A story. The A story now has two things that happen. One is and I should look this up. I shouldn't just keep goofing around. I'm already through season 1 and I still can't remember all the names of the characters. The lady who played, hold on, I don't feel like it. The Betazoid lady, she came back, but she didn't come back to the War College, which she was a part of. She came back to StarFleet because they thought that it would be safer. Can somebody help me make sense out of this? I'm already, okay, lower your voice. I don't see how that makes any sense. During the training exercise, both the War College people and the StarFleet people were on the ship and they got attacked. I don't see how you're either safer on one side or the other. It seems like they both got attacked equally. When you're in space, the aliens don't say, wait a minute, these guys are in Starfleet, let's not attack them. Let's see what you got. Klingon men wear skirts, dirty and hot. Oh, come on. Wait a minute, I haven't even gotten to the problems with the hologram yet. Let's go to the Abe story and then we'll get to this hologram story, which is so outrageous. So now the Beta Z woman comes to the Starfleet Academy side. Well, she's not very happy about that because she's got trauma. And so in order to address this trauma, what do? They bring Sylvia Tilly from Discovery. You're thinking I'm making this up. I'm not making this up. This is what happens. So she comes in, and as I said, there was I guess when people were watching Discovery, people really loved this character. I don't know. I wasn't a fan. You know why I wasn't a fan? Because she just, a lot of times when I watch Star Trek, I kind of see people I kind of relate to a little bit, of people I admire or people maybe that I've been around. I'm like, man, this person's like this person's kind of like that. I don't think I've ever met anybody like that. It's just silly. I know people that are funny, but I just don't know anybody that's just goofy. It's just like that. If I knew somebody like that, I'd feel better about this character. But I just don't know in a professional setting, like, they're on a ship flying through space at multiple times the speed of light. I don't think I'd want a person like that, on the ship. Why are they here? So she's always just kind of been this silly, reckless character, like almost for comic relief. And so to see her in this new iteration just seems, and her name is Tilly, which kind of rhymes with silly. I'm thinking, okay, you guys purposely made a silly character, and now you're bringing it back because this is a silly character. And what does a silly character do when there's a serious situation? Well, we got everybody that is going through this trauma. Somebody died. It's a horrible situation. We put our cadets in this terrible instead of using a simulation, we almost killed them all. Let's bring Tilly in. She's going to help them get through it. And how does she help them get through it? They're going to do theater. That's what I would one, if somebody was about to end my life and somehow I survived and I had a lot of trauma about it, when I went back to school, I would really like to participate in the school play. I think that would really be the thing that would get me over the edge, to be able to recreate Annie Get Your Gun. Please, can I do a scene from Oklahoma? There's something to help me get over my stress. So, they're trying to limit some of these characters, our exposure to some of these really awful characters. So, I don't think we saw the half Jemadar, half Klingon lady in the last two episodes. I don't think she was in that last one. If she was, I don't remember. Hey, Planet X. So I don't think she was in that last episode. And I don't mind. I mean, she really wasn't adding anything anyhow. You know what I mean? So let's not have her around too much. In this episode, the Klingon character, Gaiden, he was like, had a cold, and because they were all sitting doing a play, he picked a Klingon play, which he talked about, Klingon testicles, which why, no one could tell why that was the topic of his play, and then he bowed and left with his dress on. These guys are going to play. I'm sorry. I hope somebody comes back and redoes Star Trek and how they've done these Klingons and turned them into gay men with dresses on. I mean, this is almost like crimes against Star Trek. I mean, that's just horrible. I mean, I don't know why. We've had 60 years of Klingons. I mean, yeah, at the beginning, the Klingons were, just weird characters with different kind of beards and mustaches. But from Next Generation through all the movies, they created Klingons that we knew, and Worf, he was kind of like the primary pattern of what Klingons were. We had culture, he had the language, he had the religion, he had the mythology, he had the moral dilemmas of life and death, and suicide, and what it means to live honorably. All that stuff is so fleshed out with so much detail, and to do this is just, exactly. It's supposed to be Vikings or Mongolians, with Genghis Khan. There's supposed to be something like that, and so to do this just seems to be, DC Fontana, the original writers have got to be just like spinning, and Gene Roddenberry is going to come back to life and say, what the freakity frackety frick is this, And so he's not in this episode that I'm talking about now that much, so it's good. So the two people that are trying to make to be one half Klingon and the one that's a gay Klingon, those two people really don't play much of a factor in this episode, which makes it a little bit better. Not much better. It goes from an F- to an F just by removing those people. Now, let's keep moving forward. So now each person is supposed to pick a play and to, rehearse it and act it out in order to help them with their trauma. Well, guess who is the favorite student of Tilly? Well, it's the hologram, Sam. Oh my God, you're right. He said the battle is not for combat's for choreography. They're going to pay. Somebody's going to pay for doing the Klingons dirty like this, because you just can't do that. I mean, when Discovery made the Klingons look like, ghouls, that didn't go over very well, and so they just kind of said, let's stop this. And they just kind of got rid of the Klingons. I think, wasn't it by episode 2, there are no more Klingons in Discovery? I mean, by season 2. Oh my God, the K-pop Klingon. Hey, listen, those K-pop Klingons were better than the gay Klingon. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't like them, but yeah. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to last. I mean, I just can't imagine them continuing to be able to do that. So, in the middle of this whole, trying to determine what play they're going to do, Tilly, guess who's Tilly? I think I said this already. Guess who's Tilly's favorite student is? And she's like, oh my God, favorite is Sam. Oh God. So anyways, so now we've got, and then the war, the Beta Z lady, she doesn't want to participate because she's got too much trauma and too much hurt feelings, so she storms off. Now, segue. Back to, I'm sorry, everybody says us old people, we're just not liking this new show because we're old. No, we're not liking it because we've watched 60 years of Star Trek. If you didn't want us to relate the 60 years of Star Trek we watched to this show, you shouldn't have called it Star Trek. It's just like when Enterprise first came out. They wanted to do their own thing, so they just called it Enterprise. They didn't call it Star Trek Enterprise. Just call it Enterprise. We'll watch it. But Enterprise was very well closely connected to Star Trek, so I don't know why they did that. But in this case, they wanted to have something so completely different, they shouldn't have had the Star Trek in the title. They should have just said Glee, StarFleet Academy or something. And we would have been like, Glee, I don't want to watch that. So, but that's what they should have done. But they connected to Star Trek, and somehow we're dumb enough to think that somehow there would be some similarities to Star Trek in this show. Now, the biggest challenge we have with the cadets screwing up their simulation, the challenge we have with the trauma after 3 episodes and seeing some action is we've gotten 60 years of the Academy being this exclusive, and I understand the whole concept of the burn and Starfleet being, eliminated and the ship's blowing up because somebody screamed too loud. And they're rebuilding. But even in rebuilding, don't you still pick the best of the best? It's 1,000 years from now. Aren't there still like really top-notch aliens that want to, be a part of this? Or you're just getting any ragtag team of aliens and machinery that wants to be a part of it? You get a broken freaking hologram to join. I mean, you got all these people are incompetent, and the main character is a criminal. I mean, where'd you get this ragtag group of characters? Because we were told, like from the original series, that how Kirk was just at the top of his class, and he was just like this bookworm. In Next Generation, Wesley didn't get admitted to the Academy the first time he tried. And remember there was one episode, and I think it was the Season 1, which no one liked, of Next Generation, where this one kid, I forgot his name, he couldn't get into the Academy, and he was so distraught, and he was afraid his dad was going to, disown him. He just was going to run away. It was just such a serious matter of going into this Academy. Janeway talked about her days in the Academy and learning about the quantum mechanics and temporal dynamics and things like. We were hearing about classes and topics that people and psychology, and we were hearing about these topics of classes that don't exist because guess what? They're in the future. So that was great. Like I said, Voyager talked about the Enterprise, that talked about going to this Academy. Everybody talked about going to the Academy, how much to learn, the professors in the Academy. One of the best episodes in Next Generation, we saw, a snippet of what the life on the Academy looks like in both. Let me see if I got this right. In Next Generation, where Wesley went and then they, he had Nick Licardo and they blew up the guy because they were trying to do this fancy maneuver. And then, what was that one season? I think it was Deep Space Nine, where the changelings kind of went to go take over the Starfleet command and infiltrated Starfleet Academy and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, we saw so much. Like, we didn't see when they went to this place a bunch of goofy kids running around, acting crazy. And I think the reason that a lot of young people, and I hate to say this, are relating to this Starfleet Academy is because sometimes I think the schooling today isn't as good, because I remember I went to school and here, the college I went to is here at St. Louis, Washington University, and it was rigorous. It was rigorous to get in. And the reason it was so rigorous to get in, I mean, they were perfect. Obviously, they were grooming me to be a worker, right? But I went into the engineering school of engineering program, and almost immediately, IBM, for example, kind of picked me up. They're like, "Here's one of our engineers." Their goal was pretty much to groom me as an engineer so they could hire me as an engineer, right? So by the time my junior year rolled along, and my grades were great, they gave me a summer, and so by the time I graduated, I had a job at IBM, because that was why I went to college. But I think a lot of times now people are going to college to just have fun, and the schools are just taking their money, and they end up with a master's degree in whatever they get in sociology, and then they got no job. It's like, what did you go to school for? Well, I went to school to, address my trauma. Well, your trauma ain't gonna do nothing for your future. You could have stayed home and learned how to be a good musician or something if you weren't going to learn anything in college. You could have took 8 years of your life and mastered the piano. You know what I mean? You didn't have to go to school and, so they focus on getting drunk, focus on partying, focus on their trauma. And when they can't produce any meaningful results in life, what do? You blame your parents. Well, it ain't my fault. You wasted 8 years of your life dealing with your therapist instead of dealing with your school counselor. Don't blame me for your, I mean, it maybe, the college atmosphere today is maybe they're not grooming kids to prepare themselves for life. I mean, I just remember all these different classes were preparing me for a life of, be honest, life of working. I'm not working now, but I'm just saying it did. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what happened. So seeing these kids in the academy with all these problems and issues, it's like, what's going on? So Tilly gets them to all have plays, and right in the middle of them working on the plays, the Sam hologram has a breakdown, which is, I wish I had the video. If you watch it, it's the worst breakdown. I mean, if you go back to like Star Wars in 1976, when they had R2-D2 got shot. Remember, that was like, this was very similar to 40, 50-year-old glitching. It was just ridiculous how they made this Sam look when she started glitching, and found out that the doctor comes in, brings her and sits her on a bio bed. Does that make sense? It starts examining her like she's got a heart and lungs and things like that, which, I'm sorry, what is, anyways. So the doctor says, there's nothing I can do to cure her, and so they end up going to the B story, so we got to take her back to her home country, her home planet, and see if they will fix her. Meanwhile, let's finish off the A story. Meanwhile, on the A story of them learning how to deal with their trauma by practicing a school play, they decide to use as an example of their play a play that is so old. That was in our town. I'm gonna look that up. I don't know how old that play is, but I'm sure that, okay. I'm trying to relate that to like Romeo and Juliet. If I take that play, I think the gap between the timeline that they exist in our town is like twice as great as between us and Romeo and Juliet, which makes no sense. Okay, our town play. I'm going to look this up. Yeah, 1938. So I don't know. Is that almost three? And they're the year. What's the year they in the StarFleet Academy? 3100. Almost 2000. I mean, come on. I'm sorry. That's just too big of a gap for me to believe that somebody is gonna say that that's the play I'm gonna pick for us, and for us to play out. It would be so unrelatable to them. It just doesn't make sense. So they go through this. Somehow the Betazoid lady, she starts to heal, and they start to. I think I'm missing a bunch of stuff because I can't remember, but that it kind of works, and they all congratulate Tilly for being silly, and they all are able to move forward. I don't know how that's helped them, but somehow going through that process made them feel good. And I think that's what it's all about. That was Starfleet Academy. A story is when you do stuff that means nothing and you feel good, then that's what you should do. Oh, all right, fine. On to the B side. The B side. All they did there was there was an episode of Voyager, right? I don't know if you remember. There was an episode of Voyager called Real Life. It was in season 2 or 3 or something like that. And this was where they had an A and a B story. The B story was the doctor was glitching. No. Real Life was where the doctor had created a family. And then he created a wife, and he had 2 kids, a son and a daughter. And he was having a great time with this family until B'Elanna Torres says, that's not a family, because she's half Klingon and half human. And she says, shoot, we fight all the time. So she says, you've got to introduce some randomness into this, perfectly happy life you live in. And the doctor says, okay, fine. So B'Elanna Torres, which is probably the last person I would trust to randomize my life, randomized his life and gave him all sorts. He gave the son, some rebelliousness, and he gave him, the son had friends that were Klingons, and then the daughter, I think she got into some sort of an accident and had some, terminal brain injury. And so now the doctor has to deal with that. And the loss, and, he's able to somehow cultivate and gain the relationship back with his son. But the terrible part of it was he lost his daughter and she died. So that was Real Life in Voyager. They pulled this forward to try to dovetail that story into this episode of Starfleet. Yeah, exactly. So they wanted to dovetail this into this episode. So when they got back to the planet, I forgot the name of the planet, Kess or whatever it was, they looked at Sam and says, well, we can't fix her. We can't do nothing. It was such a confusing interaction. First they're looking at it and said, we can't do anything. And the doctor's like, well, you got to be able to do something. And I don't know why the captain went too and left all the students behind who are having all this trauma, but it was the Captain Ake, see? And the doctor, they went to the planet to go fix Sam, which makes no sense. I don't know why the captain's going there, but she went. And at the end of the day, it was this weird interaction between the computer, the people who were in the lights of the planet of Kess, and the doctor says, we said, we can't fix her. Boom. So they sat and thought. Just like, the episode before, what was that episode where the doctor was glitching? It was called the Swarm or something like that in Voyager, where they had to restart him. He said, oh, can we restart her? And they said, oh yeah, you can restart her. Well, I'm like wondering why you guys said that in the first place. Why did you guys say you can't do anything? Yeah. It says 800 years later and he's still not over it. So, but makes no sense. It makes no sense. So, so they're gonna restart Sam, and I guess her journey. I can't remember some of the details where they were. She wanted him, the doctor, to hold her hand and help her through this process, and because of this grief of this 800-year-old death of his daughter, and he still hasn't gotten over it. He's like, I can't hold your hand. I can't have another daughter ever. And he really meant it. That's 800 years committed to not being able to have another daughter, right? So there's nothing. But anyway, let's listen to this plot. So in order for her to come back to be herself again, she has to be rebooted. And because they had this little twist, because on the planet they're on, there's like this temporal distortion. We want to give her childhood back. So you'll have to be with her from when she's a baby all the way up to she's like, I think it was 17 years old. Now you'll only be here, that'll be 17 years for her, but you'll only be here for a couple hours. So can you please, help raise her from a child up to 18-year-old so she can have a normal teenagehood. And now you can return her back to your ship as a teenager, and she will be normal. And it's the most convoluted BS of. I mean, sometimes I have a hard time dealing with my phone, right? Every time I put the phone in my pocket, somehow it still opens up and starts doing stuff. And I want that to stop. I would hate to think that I would have to go to a whole new planet to fix my phone. And then I gotta go raise it from a child. The rebooting process and reconnecting the database to the initial program, it sounds so difficult that it cannot possibly be in the future. Because we can take a computer, we can take a whole database, we can take a whole data center and upgrade the processors and reintegrate the databases and make sure that everything is consistent easier than they can do 800 years from now. I mean, no, it's not 800 years from now. It's almost 2,000 years from now. I'm talking about 800 years in the future from where they're already flying in space at warp speed. Oh my God. So the doctor agrees to do it, goes back to be her father. And they proceed to get two girls, a young child, maybe a older toddler, and then Sam. And those three have only one thing in common, that they're all black. Whoever cast them three people, they were racist. I'm sorry. They're like, all black people look like. Just get three black characters and no one will know. Those three characters had no resemblance to one another whatsoever. I mean, by the way, I do think this is probably one of the most racist shows on the TV. The only way that the black Sam character could come back to life is to have a white dad, a white savior, right? To bring him back, to bring her back. Give me a break, y'all. And then the gay Klingon, he's got two black dads and they both leave him. This show is racist. That's why I don't like it. It's racist and it's homophobic. It's homophobic because it's assuming that all the gay people act like this. I know gay men, they don't act like this. There's gay men, I'm a photographer. I shoot gay weddings of gay men and they don't act like this at their own wedding. I mean, I'm not gay, but I've seen enough gay men to know that they don't act like this Klingon guy. I don't know. A Code of Honor was bad, but, some of this stuff was even worse. And that was freaking, well, what Code of Honor was? It was like a Tarzan movie. It was so racist. It was like it was like almost unbelievable. I think that was the problem with that one. You're sitting there watching it like, what the fuck just happened here? Who was watching? Everybody was asleep at the helm. I sometimes I wonder, I've never been able to participate constructively in all these different meetings. And I am so grateful that I'm at a point in my life that I don't have to go to meetings anymore. I remember I had somebody call me the other day. I'm just doing my photography, right? And I shoot for this little magazine. And they called me up and they said, we're having a meeting. We'd like you to come. And I was like, oh, why? Do you want me there? And they're like, well, we just want to get your input. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Just tell me what, because I take pictures of the family that goes on the cover of the magazine. I'm just saying, just tell me what family you want me to shoot, where they live. I'll call them and set them up and take the picture. But I don't want to come to any meetings to talk about anything. Because somebody went to a meeting, went over the script, saw the initial, mock-up of it, saw a draft of it, shot the episode, edited the episode. It wasn't like one guy did this by himself, like Code of Honor. People watched this, reviewed it, and said, that's good to me. Nobody, and this wasn't one person. It's a huge corporation, Paramount Plus. So every meeting probably has 10 to 15 people looking at it, right? So you're telling me 10 to 15 people looking at this episode, looking at Code of Honor, looking at this last Durham episode, looking at all these episodes, the one with episode 4 where the Klingon black guy lost both his parents. 15 people in the room looked at that and saw nothing wrong. That's why I don't want to go to a meeting, because people will sit in a room and they will see complete bullshit and still go, oh my God, it was so good. There's a book. It's called the Peter Principle. No, is that the one? No, that's not. Groupthink. There's a book called Groupthink. It's that when you get into a group, you will think all sorts of crazy shit because you just want to somehow, you treasure, what do they call it? Unanimity more than common sense. That's why you got the crazy political movements here. Ain't nothing that's happening making any sense. But everybody's like, yeah, my team. As long as your team is winning, you don't care what they're doing. And that's what's happening in these episodes. As long as you feel like there's some battle going on, and I don't know if I'm smart enough to get it, but there's this battle between woke and asleep, right? And somehow we've been told that woke is bad and asleep is good. So anything you label as woke, and the people, they're different sides. If I say this is woke, they're like, oh, this is great. I love everything about it. Or the other people say, oh, this is bad. I hate everything about it. There's no critical thinking about it. It's like, you can't be judgmentally intelligent anymore. Because I would consider myself awake, but there's a lot of things in this I don't like. And so I wouldn't fall on either side because I don't think they even understand what they mean when they say the term woke or not woke. I know what I mean. I watched the movie 20 years ago, Spike Lee in School Days, when Lawrence Fishburne ran through the halls of the school talking about wake up. That's what woke is. It had nothing to do with being transsexual or gay. It was about, being aware of and thinking for yourself. It had nothing to do with any of that stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Oh my God. Yeah, that's another thing. I don't really charge people a lot for. I not too long ago, I took pictures for a lady who turned 90 years old. I mean, her daughter hired me to take for a birthday party. Can you imagine the accomplishment it would to be 90 years old and she still looks great and she's got her wits about her? And I did this photo shoot. The pictures, the videos, everything I captured for that family, I would imagine that they have to consider that to be priceless. I don't have pictures of my grandmother. I don't even have a video of my own mom. I mean, the technology wasn't to the point where we were doing the stuff we're doing today, unless you had really a lot of money. But to have them have, I recorded their mom talking about the most important things to her in her life, and she talked about her family and her church, and then the relationship with her friends. But if I had something like that from my own mom, I would say priceless. Priceless. I don't charge them $10 million, but you know what I'm saying? If you take $10 million and make something, shouldn't you make sure that it's just like at least good? I mean, shouldn't it be at least good? You know, it shouldn't be shitty. I mean, you know what I mean? If I don't, like I said, I don't charge people $10 million to give them priceless memories. So I would assume that if you're going to take $10 million and make something, you want to make something. I don't think it took $10 million to make The Godfather. Did it take $10 million to make the original Back to the Future? I don't know. Maybe it did. But I'm just saying, there's a significant amount of money being spent in producing garbage. And doesn't that also allow you to get some writers that can sit down in a room and come up with some really compelling stories and have some consistency with some of the things that's happened in the past? The 6 years of Star Trek is actually really good. I mean, I can understand if there was 60 years of Star Trek that all sucked. There's 60 years of some really amazing storytelling. I'm watching Voyager all over again myself. And before they had the 7 of 9 characters in episode 4, they've had some really compelling stories, you know, including Tuvix, including the story that they stole from a little bit about the Doctor having a real life, including the stories. They had stories about, you know, diseases and being taken on and contagion. They had all sorts of stories in the first 3 or 4 seasons of Voyager. In the first 3 or 4 seasons, I mean, Enterprise only got 3 seasons. They had a bunch of great stories. You know, and if you want to steal stories, Twilight Zone, how many episodes of Twilight Zone? A lot of these stories kind of borrow some stuff from Twilight Zone, right? I know you know that, but go back to Twilight Zone and see if you... Outer Limits, they had some great... Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Those are all amazing stories if you want to steal from some of that hasn't been done. You know, so what was it? Yeah, but see, yeah, they woke somehow has got to be a negative connotation to gay, in which that's not what it. That's not who. That's not what it means. You know, that has nothing to do with it. And Star Trek, you know, never addressed it like that. I mean, Star Trek addressed it as we're all in this universe doing cool stuff or badass stuff or great stuff. You know, it doesn't matter. That's the point. It doesn't matter. You can have a very significant contribution above and beyond your identity. All right. So Sam is now Sam 2.0. She has been healed by the love of the Doctor. The Doctor has taken a chance of being a father again, and they all live happily ever after. And as far as I remember, and then Tilly leaves the ship, and they all end happily ever after until this next episode, which I will watch tonight. I don't think I missed anything. I think that was it. And the 2 takeaways that I have, and I'll finish off on this, is I just really am not a fan on how they've just made the Starfleet cadets just so weak, you know. And I'm hoping, you know, they could toughen them up a little bit, you know. And I'm hearing in some previews that maybe the Sam 2.0 is a little bit better than what we've had to endure with. You know, and then the second piece of the, you know, of the puzzle, you know, make the tough cadets a little tougher and make the hologram a hologram. And get rid of the Klingon dude and the half Klingon woman, and maybe we'll get someplace with this. All right, well, that's it. That's it for me. I'm gonna. I don't know if you heard that clunking and thumping in the back, but my neighbor's dogs are all excited. My dog wants to go outside, so I think I'm gonna call it quits and go take care of my dog and some lunch, and I'll be back when we are gonna do the next episode. But like I said, I'm normally very motivated with doing things, but this was just hard. But I really do appreciate the people that watch this, subscribe. I mean, I'm shocked. I thought there'd be like 4 people that would subscribe. So and the people making intelligent comments. So I'm very happy, and I'm glad you're here. And I will be back same time. Not same time. That's another thing. I wish I could commit. I was in Mexico, and then I got a whole bunch of other stuff. So I think I'll make sure. I'll come back sometime. I gotta catch up because season 1 is almost over, and I'm behind one episode, and there's another one dropping tomorrow. So I gotta catch up. So you might see me again this weekend. You never know. All right, take care. Love you guys, and we'll see you soon.